I had heard of Twitter. I was not familiar with it, but I knew that it was out there. I knew that it was a way that you could use both computer website and text messaging to post comments. I started to think about how I might be able to incorporate this into the actual classroom setting in my big group of 90 students as a way to pull more students into a class discussion that I ordinarily wouldn't be able to do in 50 minutes with that many people.
The explosion of social media has added a totally new aspect to internet marketing and growing into an important component of every popular business. But will this help engage students? Can Twitter improve the classroom experience? We asked university and college students and instructors about it.
My personal experiences of being in a class where I have an opinion on something, but there's so many people raising their hand at the same time, I don't get the chance to talk about it. And then later on I go home and I say, you know what, that would have been a really good thing to add on to that class. This way I have that opportunity.
I think social media tools will be much more effective than what is currently in place, such as WebCT and other tools being used, because with our generation, social media is the only real method of communication that we use. So.
I think it's an interesting idea. I would like to see it used as a supplement to in-class discussion, a way to continue discussion after the class is finished. Students also need to be challenged to delve deeper into arguments and explore the subtleties and nuances of topics. I could see it being useful for large classes where face-to-face discussion is difficult, if not impossible.
In theory, it could be. I just don't think in practice it would. I just think that Twitter is used so much as a social tool that by bringing it into the classroom, you're blurring some of the lines between personal life and classroom life, which I think could be very different.
I think it depends on the setting. Obviously, in smaller classes, relying too heavily on technology can take away, be a detriment to your classroom experience, depersonalizes it. But if, a problem's in a huge lecture hall with, 80 plus students, yeah, of course, it becomes a much more effective way to make sure that everybody's being used.
I feel like there's a real tension between being succinct and having a superficial understanding of something. Twitter condenses ideas, which can be good, but I worry that embracing contemporary forms of communication may ultimately lower the level of discourse in our schools.
I sort of feel that Twitter, for the most part, should be used, especially in a school setting, as sort of, this is what I'm doing, I'm bored in class. Once you start incorporating more school or professional context into that, you have to be a lot more careful about what you say and to whom. And by having different aspects of your life all within the same account, there could be room for a bit of problems in the future.
I think you can send messages out to say as a reminder that something's due in the following week, or those types of things I think are useful. Also, you can give updates on a variety of things, check this out, or so you can inspire people to do some extra research or some extra work, or to check out a new tool that you just discovered, so you can keep sharing information with people. And I think what it really comes down to is a really useful communication tool in the end. And it makes the students feel more engaged and more involved. Whereas if you don't have any communications at all, how do you really engage or involve students in different activities? Right?
I believe that people should have a voice, of course, but giving them a voice through anonymity is not a voice at all. If one does not have the courage to speak out in front of a group of peers, you might not be able to do it when you have a major meeting or have to give a presentation at your work in the future. There is much more to communication than just typing a few words, and so much more that can be said in more than 140 characters.
Right, the best instant messaging that there is comes out of your mouth and goes to the other person's ears. Because you can actually see me typing it as I'm talking, right?
And respond instantly.
Yeah, and respond instantly. In fact, you can be developing your response as I'm only halfway through the instant message that I'm sending. I mean, people's like, oh wow, this is such fast instant messaging. Use your freaking mouth. Talk a little bit. That's not to say it should all be that. I mean, it should be a good mixture of it. But by trying to use that type of technology to be able to bring people out solely as a way to get them to get out of their shell, I think.
As a person who is generally quiet in class, I actually don't like this idea. Knowing that I need to speak up and participate has helped me develop my verbal skills and become less nervous doing it. If all you have to do is post something to Twitter, I don't think that allows for the socialization skills to be developed at school ultimately serves to support and build.
us how to send succinct messages, and you know, we really have to be aware of the types of the connotation that comes with, you know, our impersonal, strictly text-based communication. There's no innuendos, there's no subtleties, so you have to be aware that you're stripping, it's bare bones communication. And I think as people become more aware of that, as we become more used to it, we can communicate much more effectively using these communication systems. Does our face-to-face communication suffer as a result? Well, that's for a sociologist answering on this.
Both teachers and students are conflicted on the use of Twitter in the classroom, but the fact remains that classrooms are changing. Moving forward, everyone involved in post-secondary education needs to prepare for the classroom experience to change.